What's up, guys? This is Ben from North Carolina. I just wanted to make a little video about paramotoring and my journey into the sport. I've begun to realize that there are countless people out there who are either into paramotors, training paramotors, or actually flying already. And I think that there's this common journey that people go on. It all kind of starts with this moment of awareness. And for me, it was watching a video online of a guy flying just feet over the ground, wing overhead, and a motor on his back. I was hooked, and that leads to the next step of intrigue. And for me, it was really an obsession. I had to watch everything I could find online, read all the material I could get my hands on, and really try to understand how this sport works. And it sets off this whole stage of learning. I was watching a lot of videos online, but there are countless books that you can go out and buy, including the PPG Bible. You can also do training, whether it's an introductory day or a full course. The other question that arises is around safety. I've seen a video of a wing collapsing, so I needed to understand just how safe can paramotoring be. I have very little tolerance for risk, but I've begun to learn that there are countless ways that you can make this sport more safe. At first, it looks like the pilots are completely carefree, without a worry in the world, just cruising along. What you begin to learn over time is that the pilots are putting together many decisions to put themselves in a safe position at every moment during their flight. So that begins with understanding weather, wind speed, direction. Pilots need to understand their equipment, how to inspect it for safety. They're concerned with the time of day of flight. Are also constantly aware of their distance from the nearest landing zone, what the glide ratio is on their wing, and how they can make a safe landing at any moment during their flight. I've learned that there are many things you can do to improve the safety of the sport, but it all begins with training, knowledge, and decision making. The other question that comes up for people who are just learning about the sport is around the equipment. A lot of people are eager to go out and purchase a motor and a wing immediately, but I think the consensus among experienced pilots is that you should not go out and just purchase equipment immediately. First, you ought to spend time with a reputable and knowledgeable instructor. Learn about the sport, become familiar with the equipment, try out different wings and motors, and see what might make sense for you and the type of flying you intend to do. And while you'll be eager to go out and get a wing and a motor, there'll be other pieces of equipment that are important to you as well, including helmet, radio, communications, reserve chute, and more. So the other question that comes up is around location. Where can I launch and land a paramotor? It also seems to me that there's some portion of the paramotor community who's interested in the sport in part because they have access to a great spot to launch and land. For a lot of pilots, it may be a small local airport. You may take off from the runway or an adjacent field. Other people find that they can fly from an agricultural field, a ball field, or a property nearby. For me, that's part of my paramotor journey. I have this pretty little piece of land here in Indian Trail, North Carolina, with a pretty large field. I've always thought it would be amazing to fly from here, to be able to launch from the property, see everything from above, and explore the area. So the next question that comes up is around training. And I think most pilots would tell you that it's important to get training from a knowledgeable, experienced, and reputable instructor. There are some who choose to self-train, and more power to them, but I think even those folks would tell you that there are some challenges that go along with that. I was fortunate to have a flight school right here in my town, so I don't have to travel far or condense the course into a short time period. I get to go back each week and learn a little bit more, and if the weather doesn't cooperate, there's always another time. When you begin your training, most instructors will give you a syllabus detailing all of the topics that you'll cover. Some of the things that you can look forward to getting your hands on will be actually doing some ground handling of the wing, raising the wing up overhead, controlling it, even working on some forward and reverse launches. You may also spend some time in a simulator where you can become comfortable sitting in the seat, hanging from the hang points on the harness, even practicing rolling on and off the throttle, and taking some direction from your instructor. And eventually, you'll be ready for your first flight. When the time came for me for my first flight, I was ready. I had read several books, I had watched countless videos, and I had been through some outstanding training. But I was still nervous on that day. I was terribly disappointed when I didn't get off the ground my first 2 attempts to launch. But I had to learn to be patient, and that's one of the most important things you'll learn about this sport. If you're impatient, you're going to make mistakes, and there's little room for error. In my 3rd attempt, everything aligned. The wind was in the right direction, the wing came up overhead, I applied power, and off I went. And it was incredible. And I remember, as I was gaining altitude for the first time, looking around me and thinking, I'm actually up in the air, and I'm okay with this. I'm not nervous, I'm not panicking, I feel comfortable. And I also had my instructor on the radio, in my ear cup, giving me direction, which really gave me a lot of comfort. After you've had a few flights, the next step in your paramotor journey is going to be a progression. You're going to learn some more precise maneuvers. You may learn spot landings, or how to fly with closer proximity to either objects or the ground. So I think the last step in this paramotor journey is around community. You'll meet your instructors, other pilots, and people are really supportive of one another. I think there's a bit of an online community as well, where people want to share their experiences. And you may see this in message boards or groups like Reddit, Facebook, even on YouTube. To some extent, there are people who are making comments, asking questions, and getting some responses from pilots, and I think that's terrific as well. So it's May of 2020, and I've been on my paramotor journey for about 6 months from when I first became aware of the sport. And I've been training for about 4 months now, and I just had my 12th flight on Saturday. Here are a few images from that flight. Guys, thanks for checking out my video. Make sure you come back and check out my next flight.